Hello everybody, welcome to another HoNReplays.org cast. This is of course the tournament week 7. This is the semifinals between MSI and BTN. I am your caster Insane Rabbi, your host for this evening. Coming here to this cast with me is Con88.
How's it going, guys?
And hopefully this match is going to be pretty good here. We do have MSI, pretty top tier team, versus BTN, another well-known team. Both teams, I'd say, have made it at least to quarters or semis, if not the finals, probably all 7 weeks or 6 out of the 7. Pretty high-skilled teams, you'd agree, Con?
Yeah, definitely. Both sponsored teams. They're both really strong teams. This match actually took place last tournament in the quarters, I believe, MSI versus Button Bashers, and it was a really close game. MSI eventually, it was about a 60-minute game if I remember correctly. MSI beating Button Bashers in the end, with their turtle strat. They just had more carries in the end, which is kind of what they've been using consistently for in their games. I believe they use the same kind of strat in the round just gone. And we can kind of see from the bans that you have Chronos, Swiftblade and Zephyr, probably the 3 best carries at the moment banned. I'm not sure if Button Bashers banned those 3, but I wouldn't be surprised. And we see a first pick, Corrupted Disciple, something MSI have been using a lot recently, going to Button Bashers. What do you think about that?
Well, as Button Bashers even types mind games, definitely, I know CD has been used by MSI quite a bit in the last tournament. I have not been able to be here for a lot of the games on this tournament, so we'll see how it plays out. I do believe I remember Rexy or Trixie, one of the XI characters playing Corrupt Disciple every single game through Tournament 6 that they played, so
Yeah, that was
definitely... That was Trixie? Okay, it's definitely going to be interesting to see the BTN with Corrupted Disciple here. Nevertheless, to go quickly over the bans and the picks, the bans, starting with BTN, who has first pick, first ban, they banned Chronos, Slither, and Swiftblade. MSI banned Ophelia, Blacksmith, and Zephyr. BTN then first picks Corrupted Disciple, which is probably the best carry left in the pool, except for maybe Puppet or Soul Stealer, which are both situational. It's arguable. Then we saw a Plague Rider Hellbringer pick 1-2 for MSI. Back to BTN, we see a Cursed and Demented Shaman. As for the first pick, Corrupt Disciple, I think it was a fine pick. Pretty much, he's real cheesy. He's a solo mid, really strong. Nothing really can beat him easily. So I think he's always a solid a pick when these bans are out there. Then we saw Plague and Hellbringer, magic AoE armor reduction from Hellbringer, the ultimate, the slow, the dot, huge damage, huge support, great everything. Plague Rider, everybody knows, lots of mana, lots of nukes, and his ultimate just devastating in team fights when used correctly, and when the other team, of course, is not in proper position to counter. Then we see an Accursed Demented Shaman pick for BTN. Looks like they're going heal bombs with Disciple on the team. I'll get back to that in a little bit, but what are your thoughts on the Pestilence and Arachna 3-4 from MSI?
After getting pretty much 2 of the best supports, they go get Pestilence, who we don't really see him hard carry, but he's definitely kind of plays the role of initiation, semi-carry usually on a team. So and then Arachna, who's pretty much I suppose you could call her a ganker semi-carry. She's kind of very gank orientated for the first stage of the game, but basically 2 carries for MSI straight off the bat. I don't know, I think at the moment Button Bashers have undoubtedly 3 tier 1 heroes. MSI, I don't know, I wouldn't really class Pestilence or Arachna as tier 1, but Hellbringer and Plague Rider definitely are. But from this, oh man, a Sandwraith. I haven't seen Sandwraith in a long time. Oh, Sandwraith is just the cheese.
Actually, something I was going to bring out is Corrupted Disciple, known for his high base stats, known for a lot of things. And then we actually see a 5th pick Tempest there by MSI. But Corrupted Disciple known for being really beefy and really survivable, so to speak. I know that's not the right word, but he can sit there and take a lot of abuse. And the thing is when you have two healers such as a Cursed and Demented Shaman on the team, it's going to give him that much more livability with his ultimate. So essentially he's attacking for a lot of damage. His ultimate is negating your armor and doing essentially a second source of damage. Not quite a double, but it's a good amount. And you're just keeping him alive over and over with Demented Shaman and a Cursed. On top of that, I was assuming they would pick Soul Reaper to go with a Cursed in the lane, solid lane, and then Soul Reaper, of course, even more heals. And then what I really liked was the 5th pick, Sandwraith. Sandwraith, when you build Sandwraith in a tanky form, the amount of damage that he takes gets dispersed. I forget what it's called in this, but it's dispersion in Dota for Spectre. And essentially you take 20% of the damage due to him, gets returned in, I believe, an 800 AoE or 600 AoE around him.
It could be
20% of the damage. It could be 1,000. We'll double check the range, but it's a huge range, and it's 20% of the damage it returns as magic damage. It was pure damage. They nerfed it to magic damage because it was too strong as pure damage, which is why Sandwraith really didn't get a lot of play after that nerf. But obviously, when you have really, really beefy heal bombs, like you have beefy characters, both Sandwraith and Corrupted Disciple. Well, they're going to build Sandwraith beefy. He doesn't start out beefy. And they're just going to keep healing him and healing him and healing him. So every essentially 1,000 he gets healed for that you have to damage through, you're going to take 200 magic damage to your whole team, or everybody at least in an 800 approximate AoE around him. So if he's hitting 3 people with that return damage, that's 600 magic damage for every 1,000 damage you do to him. It's absurd. Sandwraith, arguably the greatest carry in the game. You just don't really see him play that often because of such a bad early game, and his late game was slightly nerfed. But yet again, I love this team. I love Soul Reaper Accursed, I love Demented Shaman, and I love Corrupted Disciple, and to throw the Sandwraith in there, I really think it completes their team. Now, on the Legion side, though, we do have Hellbringer, Plague, Tempest, Arachna, Pestilence. Pretty disgusting team fight team over here, with Arachna being the only form really of single target DPS. I would assume Rexy is going to get that portal key for the initiation you were speaking about, Con. But do you really think there's enough burst and team fight capabilities on the Legion side to crack this overheals team of the Hellborn?
Well, yeah, that's just one of the things I was thinking about. They don't really have a lot of damage, really. Like, they have great ults from Tempest and Hellbringer, but until Pestilence gets some items and Arachna gets some items, the only damage they're going to really have is nukes from Lich, and minor like death boil damage, and minor auto attack damage, but not a lot of damage at all. One thing that I might see happening is that MSI, they have weaker carries. I think we can both agree on, in the form of Pestilence and Arachna. But what they can do is they have Hellbringer and Tempest, which with those two heroes they can push pretty strong, and not put themselves in danger. And the Hellborn team doesn't have a lot to counter that, apart from just nuking down the creeps. But the towers are still going to take a lot of damage, and the Button Bash's team relying a lot on endgame with basically no aggressive heroes at all. The most aggressive there in the early game being Demented Shaman. So I think if it gets to the late game, it could be really interesting, but it's probably in the favor of Button Bashers in the late game, definitely.
Yeah, we do see Tempest jungling the forward jungle. We see, Tempest, they're essentially going to do the pseudo tri-lane top, Plague, Pestilence with Tempest. I think that's actually a really good play. It's going to be extremely hard for Sandwraith to get that farm going, even with the Demented Shaman babysit. Of course, in return, you have a solo Hellbringer bottom against Soul Reaper Accursed, and that's just not going to go well for him. I really pretty much see no way for Hellbringer to win that lane. His dot, you're going to try and hit it on both heroes, obviously. And we actually do see a little bit of action talk